What's up, everybody? It's Vemily. Most of you may know me through my music, but this time I'm excited to introduce a new series of vidcasts on my YouTube channel where we explore a variety of topics beyond the realm of music. Both profound and lighthearted. We'll dive into subjects such as addiction, spirituality, creativity, lifestyle and trends, the music industry, entertainment industry, and all that good stuff. And just a reminder that this is a safe and respectful place where you can all express your opinions, even if they differ from mine. Just keep it cute, keep it classy, because everybody facing their own battle, so we just want to be kind. With that being said, let's dive into our today's topic, which is hypersexuality. So the inspiration behind that first episode is actually a more intimate interview I had on Raw House Athens, and ever since I did that, I've literally been bombarded with messages and questions. So I thought, I might as well do a video. So in this episode, we'll be delving deeper into the concept of hypersexuality and how it affects us, and how to confront and navigate the struggle with lust. I think it's important to start with the bigger picture of how I was when I was growing up. I've always been a confident child, confident in my own skin. I'm often described as an extrovert, even though I was and I still am an introvert. Making friends was never ever an issue for me. I was easily likable, engaging, and I knew how to keep a conversation flowing. But there's this thing about me. People may felt like they knew me, but I rarely allowed anyone to truly see me. I've always been the listener, the one who was asking the questions. So by the end of the night, I would know everything about you, and you would leave with the impression that you know me, but I would only allow you to know surface level things about me, not too personal. I was never asking for help. I was not comfortable discussing the things that actually mattered to me. And most of the times I wouldn't even allow myself to feel those things. I would push them in the back of my head, in hopes I forget. But all that tension eventually builds up and you just burst. Mind you, I also grew up in a very strict family environment where most of the times I didn't feel heard, let alone understood. There wasn't really anyone to talk to, and whatever I was going through at a time, I just had to deal with it on my own. So I became very, very good at pretending. I'm very good at putting on a show and making everybody feel comfortable, because I don't want to bother you with my issues. But eventually all that pretending turns into suppressed emotions like anger, sadness, that I never allowed to fully surface. So what happens when you mix suppressed emotions and sexual behavior? You get hypersexuality. For me, that meant misusing and overusing sex. Something that's meant to be a pleasurable and intimate exchange of emotions between two people just turned into a coping mechanism for me. So basically, I used it as an outlet for me to express is not the right word, to release these emotions that have been pushed down for years and years. So I was not engaging in it out of love or connection. I was just basically using it to escape myself, to numb, to feel anything else but what was really going on, if that makes sense, to forget. I was always the one who rushed into sexual intimacy at a very young age, but I wasn't driven by emotion. I was just driven by instinct, pure instinct. It was almost compulsive, and there was no peer pressure involved at all. I was simply chasing the dopamine and the adrenaline, hoping it would drown out the sadness, the emptiness, and all the things that I couldn't name yet. But the truth is, no matter how much you chase pleasure, it cannot fix what you refuse to face. So long story short, I found myself unable to form any type of connection, emotional or intimate connection with my partners, even though in most cases, you know, there were incredibly kind people, giving. Usually I was the one who ended up mistreating them, not necessarily out of like me being a bad person, but because I was so disconnected from my own emotions and just unable to communicate what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. I was emotionally detached, distant. In a lot of cases, I've been unfaithful. At times, it even felt like I was using them. How can I explain it so it makes sense? I was treating the relationship like a transaction, more of a transaction than connection. And you know, often during intimacy, this detachment, this emotional detachment would take darker forms. I was not present. I was not considerate. I would push boundaries. You know, I was not inventive or attuned to my partner's needs or their comfort. A lot of times I even caused emotional or physical harm without my intention, of course. I was not thinking about the person that was in front of me. I promise you, I have apologized to every single person I've heard, even to the slightest, up till this day, and I keep apologizing. I can't sleep at night. I can't sleep peacefully at night knowing that I've hurt people that actually cared about me and they loved me. I let the impulse take over, driven by something deeper than desire. It was unresolved pain, numbness, and the need to feel in control of something, of anything. And vice versa, I would often engage in acts that would involve consensual physical harm, like suffocating or beating to the point that I was literally hurt. I had bruises all over my body. You know, I just wanted to feel numb. But here's the thing, the more I was hurting physically, the less I seemed to hurt emotionally. But a lot of times after the act, I would have left with like heavy feelings like guilt, confusion, or even sadness for, I don't know, engaging in such extremes. Oh, and I've noted that down. I've done a little bit of research. There's actually a term for this. It's called postsexual dysphoria, and it's a condition marked by feelings of sadness, guilt, or irritability after sexual activity. It happens when you realize that what you thought you wanted at the moment wasn't truly driven by desire. It was driven by adrenaline, emotional turbulence, or the need to escape. And when your nervous systems finally comes down and that rush fades, you're left with the truth, you know, that guilt feeling, that sadness, confusion, like I mentioned before. And that realization can be painful. I am no professional. This is just my personal experience. It can manifest in many ways beyond frequent sexual activity. Other symptoms may include persistent and intrusive sexual thoughts or fantasies that you can't control. I would say compulsive is the word. I'm not sure if I can say the word, but lots of use of corn. I'm not sure if I want to mention this, but I used to be so addicted to corn, and I've been wanting to quit for the longest. I was trying my hardest, and it reached to a point that I was reading self-help books and articles on how to quit corn while watching corn. It gets worse. I would even watch it to fall, like I would fall asleep to it, because the sound of it was so familiar, so comfortable, that it would just put me to sleep. One last thing I want to mention is that hypersexuality is often glorified by the media. We're constantly overexposed to nudity and casual sex and that hookup culture, whatever. And it's so cool nowadays to be emotionally detached. It's not, but you know what I mean. So much that it becomes difficult to recognize where that thin line is, where to draw the line, how much is too much. But if you catch yourself at a point where intimacy feels more compulsive than conscious, then you need to seek help. In my case, I was slowly and unconsciously slipping deeper into my addiction without even realizing. And that eventually led to an overwhelming and unhealthy relationship with lust. Lust is definitely a topic that I would like to explore more in detail in a separate episode. Yeah, in the meantime, I'd love to hear your stories, your own experiences. Feel free to share down in the comments. Just a reminder to be kind, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.